Hey everyone, welcome back to your favorite channel. I hope you're all doing absolutely amazing. Guys, when we think of Superman, we immediately think of the ultimate symbol of hope, justice, and the nice farm boy who'd willingly give his life to save Earth. He's the literal definition of pure good in the DC universe. But guys, have you ever stopped and wondered what would happen if this godlike being, with all his universe-shattering powers, just snapped? What happens when that iconic red cape of hope turns into a flag of absolute terror and nightmare? DC writers have actually answered this terrifying question multiple times in their official stories, showing us versions of Superman that are honestly way darker and more chilling than any villain in history. Today, we are diving deep into 5 times Superman completely lost it and turned into an absolute villain, almost wiping out entire worlds. So if you're a fan of crazy dark facts and mind-bending comic book stories, smash that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and trust me, you do not want to miss our #1 spot because it's genuinely insane. Without further ado, let's kick things off with number 5. Rank 5, the Communist Superman. Superman Red Son. Our number 5 spot goes to one of DC's absolute masterpieces, Superman Red Son. The writer behind this awesome comic is Mark Millar, the same controversial writer who gave us Marvel's Civil War. Mark Millar pulls off a crazy concept in this comic, asking one big question: what if everything in history happened completely backward? In Superman's regular stories, his spaceship lands in the green fields of Kansas, America, and he grows up with values of freedom. But in this comic, Kal-El's ship hits Earth just a few hours later than usual, and those few hours change everything, landing him right in the heart of the Soviet Union during Joseph Stalin's reign. Superman grows up in this environment, and instead of fighting for freedom, he becomes the ultimate champion of the Communist Party and Stalin's right-hand man. Now, you might say he wasn't a bad guy from the start, and you'd be right. His goal was world peace. But the real nightmare started after Stalin died, and Superman took full control of the Soviet Union. To create his perfect utopia, he started brainwashing the public, completely wiped out free speech, and anyone who dared to disagree with him was lobotomized and turned into an obedient robot. He literally became a terrifying, godlike dictator that made the entire world shake under the shadow of his red cape. Number 4, the Nazi Superman, Overman, the Multiversity. Number 4 takes us deep into one of the darkest and most bizarre parallel worlds in DC, right into the pages of the Multiversity, Mastermen, where we meet a version called Overman. The mind behind this creepy storyline is the genius philosopher of comics, Grant Morrison, who is famous for writing super complex, psychological, and mind-bending stories. And here he taps into humanity's ultimate nightmare. If you thought the communist Superman was scary, wait until you see the hell Grant Morrison created. The story takes place on Earth 10. In the year 1938, a spaceship carrying a Kryptonian baby crashes right into Nazi Germany. The baby is found by the regime's soldiers, and none other than Adolf Hitler adopts him and names him Overman. Using this super being's godlike strength, laser eyes, and brute force, Hitler crushes every military on Earth. The Nazis easily win World War II, conquer America, and wave the swastika flag all over the globe. Overman grows up to become the top commander of Hitler's army and the poster boy for the Nazi Aryan master race ideology. For years, he serves this fascist regime with total loyalty.
He looks the other way through the Holocaust, the gas chambers, and the horrific ethnic cleansings the Nazis carried out, basically becoming the main muscle keeping this tyranny alive. The darkest part of the story is that after Hitler dies and Overman gets older, he finally realizes the true horror of the crimes he helped commit, falling into a deep depression and heavy guilt. But by then, it's way too late. The shadow of his past won't let him go. This Superman's hands are stained with the blood of millions of innocent people, making him literally the most brutal, ruthless, and biggest weapon of mass destruction for fascism in comic book history. Rank 3, Ultraman, Forever Evil. Number 3 takes us straight into one of DC's most thrilling and darkest crossover events, the Forever Evil comic, where we get introduced to a creature known as Ultraman. The writer behind this masterpiece is Jeff Johns, one of the main architects of modern DC, and the genius who created massive storylines like Blackest Night and Flashpoint. In this story, Jeff Johns completely drags the concept of good and evil through the mud, giving us the absolute most vicious version of Superman possible. The story goes down on Earth 3, a parallel universe where literally everything is completely backwards. In this world, there's no such thing as the Justice League or heroes. Instead, a gang of sadistic supervillains called the Crime Syndicate rules the world, and their brutal, terrifying leader is none other than Ultraman, the pure, evil, twisted version of Superman. In the official story of this universe, when Kal-El was just a baby and Krypton was blowing up, his parents didn't send him away with love like in the main universe. Nope, they packed him into the ship with pure hatred and taught him one brutal lesson. Only the strong deserve to live, and the weak must be destroyed. Now here is the incredibly bizarre and fascinating thing about Ultraman. Unlike our Superman, he doesn't get his powers from the yellow sun. In fact, sunlight actually weakens him. He gets all his godlike strength from literally eating and snorting radioactive rocks of kryptonite. He abuses kryptonite like a hardcore drug, and every time he uses it, his powers shoot through the roof, while his eyes fill with blood and total madness. When this group invades our main Earth, Ultraman literally moves the moon out of its orbit just to block the sun and plunge the Earth into absolute darkness. He is a completely ruthless, selfish psychopath who genuinely enjoys torturing people and crushing human skulls under his boots. He ruled his entire planet with an iron fist, creating pure terror, and he's the ultimate example of what happens when Superman's godlike power falls into the hands of a psycho, sadistic gangster. Rank 2. Darkseid's Puppet Superman. Superman, the Animated Series. Our number 2 spot belongs to one of the darkest and most shocking moments in the history of classic DC animation, the series finale of the nostalgic masterpiece, Superman, the Animated Series. The creator of this show is the animation legend Bruce Timm, the man who built the DC Animated Universe, DCAU. He was always a master at bringing mature, adult, and deep themes into superhero cartoons, and this specific storyline brought every DC fan's ultimate nightmare to life, Superman serving the Lord of Hell. The story kicks off when Darkseid, the cruel tyrant of the hellish planet Apokolips, kidnaps Superman. Darkseid knows he can't break Superman's will that easily, so he uses his planet's most horrific brainwashing technology.
They completely wipe Superman's mind and plant fake memories inside his head, making him believe he is Darkseid's actual son, raised on Apokolips, and that his holy mission is to conquer the universe in his father's name. And the result? Superman, wearing a dark, brutal, and terrifying armor, leads Darkseid's army of parademons to invade his own home, planet Earth. Watching Superman look down at humanity with cold, pure rage, blowing up military tanks like toys, and setting Metropolis on fire was honestly sickening. He even got into a bloody, brutal fight with his own cousin, Supergirl, beating her within an inch of her life. Even though Batman and the rest of the crew eventually saved him from the brainwashing, allowing Superman to snap out of it, fly to Apokolips, and absolutely wreck Darkseid for revenge, the damage was already done. When Superman came back to Earth, he realized people weren't smiling at him anymore. They were terrified of him. Humanity's trust in Superman was completely shattered, and for years he had to live with the heavy guilt of knowing he once stood against the very people he swore to protect. And finally, our number 1 spot, the most famous, toxic, and ruthless version where Superman officially falls from grace and turns into an absolute devil on Earth, the brilliant and insane world of Injustice. The mastermind behind this incredibly popular comic series is Tom Taylor. In this storyline, Tom Taylor does something to Superman's character that completely blurs the line between love, madness, and tyranny, showing us exactly how the world's greatest hero can become the galaxy's ultimate nightmare.
It all started on one dark, hellish day in Metropolis. The Joker, completely bored with his usual games with Batman, decided to target Superman this time. With the help of Scarecrow, Joker mixed fear gas with kryptonite dust and hit Superman with a massive dose. Superman immediately started having intense hallucinations, believing he was locked in a brutal fight with the monstrous giant Doomsday. To protect the city, he grabbed him and flew at insane speeds straight out of Earth's atmosphere into deep space to choke him out. But as the gas slowly wore off, Superman was hit with the most horrific realization of his life. There was no Doomsday. He had just dragged his pregnant wife, Lois Lane, into space and choked her to death with his own bare hands. The nightmare didn't even stop there. Joker had rigged a nuclear detonator to Lois's heartbeat. The second her heart stopped, a nuclear bomb Joker planted in the heart of Metropolis went off, wiping out the entire city and millions of innocent people in a single second. In a flash, Superman lost his wife, his unborn child, and his entire city. This massive psychological trauma completely shattered and burned Superman's pure soul to ashes. He flew back to Earth, walked straight into the interrogation room where Batman was questioning Joker. Joker was just sitting there, laughing and bragging about his masterpiece. Without a single second of hesitation, right in front of Batman's horrified eyes, Superman punched his hand straight through Joker's chest, ripped his heart out, and killed him on the spot. But that was just the beginning of the madness. Superman decided that human laws and Batman's methods were too weak, and that to bring true peace, he needed absolute control. He started a global dictatorship called the Regime and named himself High Counselor and absolute ruler of Earth. He banned all wars, but at what cost? By completely wiping out human freedom. Anyone who dared to speak out against his government was turned to ash by his heat vision. He didn't even spare his oldest friends.
When a young Shazam spoke up against Superman's brutal actions, Superman grabbed Shazam's face and used his laser eyes to melt the teenage hero's brain. He literally beat Green Arrow to death with his bare fists and started a brutal world war against Batman and the insurgency. The World of Injustice is undoubtedly Tom Taylor's masterpiece in showing a fallen angel descending into the depths of hell, where Superman, in order to save the world, becomes its worst nightmare. All right, guys, that wraps up the 5 times Superman crossed the line and showed us that when someone has the power of a god, the line between being a hero and becoming a psycho dictator is just one bad day away. Now, it's your turn to speak up. Which one of these versions did you find the most toxic and terrifying? Do you actually blame Injustice Superman for what he did after losing everything? Or do you think he completely went overboard? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read and reply to every single one of them. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of this video. If you love this style of deep dives, dark facts, and hidden comic book stories, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming videos. Until the next video and another awesome story from the comic world, take care of yourselves and peace out.